Today we'll look at two motocross bikes that are clearly meant to go head-to-head with each other. The Yamaha YZ125 and the GasGas MC125. For anyone thinking about a 125 two-stroke, these two bikes are the first stop. For any manufacturer thinking to make a dent in this class, you gotta go through these two bikes first. They're affordable, they both have similar technology, and they both offer an excellent way for young riders to transition from minis to the big boy world. Up front, both of these particular bikes are 2022 models. That doesn't mean much because going forward, we don't expect either one to change very much for years to come. GasGas is the junior member of the Pereira Mobility Motorcycle Group. That's the parent company for both KTM and Husqvarna. All three brands offer a 125 two-stroke. In the year to come, we already know that the Husky and the KTM will be completely different with electric start, fuel injection, and electronic power valves. The GasGas MC125 will continue to be the one that is aimed directly at the Yamaha YZ125. It has a much simpler approach using the previous generation motor with a Mikuni carburetor, a Kickstarter, and a centrifugally driven power valve. Beyond that, there are a number of components that allow the GasGas to maintain a lower price. It has a cast triple clamp, it has Maxxis tires, it has an unbranded silver handlebar, and unbranded silver rims, whereas Husky and KTM use name brand stuff. The parts that are the same across the three brands are much more important. The GasGas has Brembo brakes and a Brembo hydraulic clutch, just like the KTM and Husqvarna. It also has the same WP suspension components, including the exact air fork. The valving at both ends is softer, in keeping with the company's plan to target a younger rider with GasGas. For 2022, the GasGas MC125 is unchanged from the 2021 version, and the 2023 version was announced early, and it again is unchanged. Yamaha can lay claim to the fact that no dirt bike has been in production longer than the YZ125. Today's version is, of course, completely different from the one that was available 50 years ago, but it's strikingly similar to the one from 18 years ago. That was when it got the aluminum frame, which it still uses. The motor was heavily redesigned in 2022, but if you look at the new one and the old one, you can be forgiven for not noticing any difference. Despite the external similarity, almost all of the parts are new, including the cylinder, the head, the piston pin, the connecting rod, the crankcase, and the expansion chamber. The new top end is tilted 4 degrees further forward, and a Moto Tassinari reed cage is now standard. The carb is a more visual clue that things are different. It now has a key-in power jet, just like the one that comes on the YZ250. A separate fuel jet is wired to the ignition to provide more fuel between 5,000 and 9,500 RPM when the throttle is over half open. The transmission has been beefed up, and the ratios for a 5th and 6th are a little taller. The rear sprocket is also 1 tooth larger. The frame itself is unchanged, but the swing arm, linkage, subframe, and airbox all have been redesigned and wrapped in new bodywork. Yamaha made a serious effort to give the bike a more current feel, meaning it has a flatter rider compartment and narrower shrouds. Along the way, the bike lost a little bit of fuel capacity, from 2.1 gallons to 1.8. As for the suspension, it's still very similar to the current 4-stroke stuff. The fork is a KYB SSS coil spring unit like that of the YZ125F, but it has smaller axle carriers on the bottom, and the springs are stiffer this year than last year's 125. For normal, healthy riders, there's nothing more fun than screaming a good running 125 around a motocross track, and both of these bikes are good running 125s. As you might expect, Yamaha found more power. Previously, it had a significant handicap in peak output. That didn't really mean much to its fans because it was so easy to ride and handled so well. It isn't a huge difference, but in back-to-back comparisons with a brand new 2021 YZ125, we found the new bike had a clear advantage from the middle of the power band all the way to peak and then some. It isn't across-the-board win-win situation, though. Down low, the previous YZ125 was stronger. But if you're riding around in that part of the power band, you've already messed up. That's not where 125s are meant to be ridden. The new bike is stronger in all the areas that matter. You can recover a little bit of that power with rejetting. The new key and carburetor is a little fat down low. It runs better with the needle one notch lower. Despite those gains, Yamaha is still no match for the GasGas in the power department. The Austrian motor has a little more bottom, a little more mid, and a lot more top. That's no deal breaker, but if you're expecting the new motor to bridge the gap, you'll be disappointed. It only gets about halfway there. The GasGas motor, on the other hand, is about as good as a 125 two-stroke gets. It's smooth from the bottom up and has decent over-rev. Many riders even prefer this power band to the one that the KTM 150 SX has. That motor makes more peak power, but it is harder to ride and doesn't rev as high. The GasGas 125 is fast enough and much more friendly. The one area that the Yamaha has a significant advantage is suspension. You've heard it again and again. The KYB coil spring fork that is used across the entire YZ line is excellent. The setup is a little stiffer this year than last year, but the true strength of the Yamaha fork is that it can please a very wide range of riders. The same is true with the rear, although that's a much easier job. One of the things that makes a 125 two-stroke so much fun is that you can get away with murder. If the back end gets a little sideways, you just gas it hard and it comes around. You would think that the GasGas would be able to satisfy an even wider range of rider because it comes with a WP Exact air fork. It has a huge range of adjustability, but no matter what you do, the GasGas is never quite as plush as the Yamaha. It's certainly not harsh, but anything suffers by comparison with the YZ. In the past, we have said that the YZ125 is the best handling motocross bike in the world. When you put excellent suspension on a bike that only weighs 203 pounds, that's the inevitable result. The GasGas comes very close to making us reconsider that statement. It is, after all, 8 pounds lighter and actually turns with less effort than the YZ. Still, we're going to give the world's championship in handling to the Yamaha once again. It's a more stable machine, and the new layout makes it feel a little more modern. The overall championship is another story. Between these two bikes, the GasGas is still a more effective racer. It simply has too much of a horsepower advantage to be ignored. In the 125 class, lighter and faster is always a tough combination to beat. Now, it's simply a much closer contest. Dirt Bike Magazine videos, check these out. And there's even more content at dirtbikemagazine.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.